This year will be 8 years since I became an author and hit publish on my first book. And there are always things that I am learning and have learned over the past nearly 8 years. And lately, I've been reflecting on some of those things that I've learned early on, things that took me a long time to learn. And I wanted to share them with you in this video. If you are an author or a creative of any sort, you might relate to some of these, or maybe these are things that you will learn in today's video as well. I think the first thing that I learned that I wish I would have known from the beginning was Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will my author brand, my audience, my sales. None of that is going to come to me out of nowhere on day one. And realistically, I knew that, but there was like this hope that I would hit publish on my book and not really have to market it, and it would become a worldwide sensation. And that is not what happened. And I really wish I would have given myself more grace and more time to learn and realize that I would make mistakes and realize that things would take time to fall into place without getting frustrated at myself or disappointed or give up. Luckily, I never gave up, but I get emails pretty much on a daily basis or on a very regular basis from authors or creatives who are on the verge of giving up. And in nearly every single case, I'm going to say every case, it hasn't been that long that they've been trying, but they've been feeling that sense of giving up. And I feel that. I feel you on that if you're in that same place, because that was me too 7 or 8 years ago. I don't think I ever really wanted to give up, but there were times where I thought like, okay, this isn't for me. I spent so much time on this book and no one's buying it. How can this be? And so if you're in that same place, I do really resonate with where you're coming from. So that was my first lesson though, was that it does take time. And I'm so glad that I didn't give up. It took months and months and months to start seeing an increase in sales. And from when I started selling what I think a lot of people would consider a good number of sales, like 100 plus a month, I remember being so excited. And then from that point, it took me a while to learn how to scale up from there and get it into selling thousands. So from when I published my first book at the end of 2016 to when I really actually started making a lot of sales, in my opinion, a lot of sales, other people might have a different opinion. That was like the end of 2019, early 2020. So that's over 3 years that if I would have given up, I would have never known the thousands of books that I've sold and the readers that I've been able to impact and the opportunities that I've been able to go to because of being an author. The second lesson is that launching is so necessary and warming up your audience is so necessary. I think I spoke about this before, but my first book, I did not know what I was doing when it came to a launch, and therefore I did not do a launch at all. I published the book and I thought because I had an audience on social media, it was on Tumblr at the time, that my book would sell copies. I had thousands of people following me on Tumblr. They didn't know me, they didn't connect with me, and I didn't have a good idea of how to market my book or how to communicate it and how it could impact my readers. And that was something that took me a while to learn. And because of that, I didn't get sales. I think I got a couple sales my first week of launch week, as opposed to the thousands that I've had since learning how to launch and how to have a real launch strategy behind my book. I have a launch course if you're interested. It's called the Lifetime Launch. I'll link it in the description. There's also a sample that I posted on YouTube, so I'll link that launch kind of preview up here if you are interested in checking that out as well. But learning how to launch and how to pre-launch and how to get your audience involved in advance does wonders for the number of sales you can get. And at that same time, though, also realizing that your book has a long lifetime or your product has a long lifetime, unless it's an extremely timely product that you're putting out that will kind of expire or it's trendy and people might lose interest, your book has a long lifetime. So, my first book that I published in 2016 still sells copies, and I continue to sell and promote, my books that came out years and years ago. So keep that in mind as well, that if you did launch and it didn't go as well as you expected, there's always other launches, and there's also way more time for people to find that product. The next lesson that I learned is the importance of having a mailing list. And that's not something that I learned early on. It took me a few years to get on board with having one and kind of figuring out that process. But if you are listening to this and you are pre-product, you're in the works with it, you're wanting to grow an audience, I do recommend having that from the get-go. It's something that you can actually keep forever. You own that customer data. When we get orders through Amazon or we have a Facebook group or something like that, that can be taken away from us. We can, have our accounts hacked, or Facebook shuts down, or the group gets deleted for whatever reason. Your social media page could get deleted. Anything could happen. And so having people opt in to hear from you because they're interested in what you have to say is really, really powerful. And I just think mailing lists are really powerful. So I have a video also on setting up an email newsletter. So I will link that up here for you as well. The next thing that I wish I had learned sooner was the power of collaborating with others and really building a network of other, not even just authors, but other people in my niche who could be a good fit. I've collaborated with artists. I've collaborated with other people in the mental health space who didn't necessarily have a direct tie to poetry, which is what I write, but had a direct tie to my audience and the people that I was trying to reach. Getting creative with who you can collaborate with is really powerful. It's really beneficial. You can get in front of each other's audiences in a mutually beneficial way. And also networking and building relationships has allowed me to support other authors on their book launches and also have their support whenever I launch a new book. And, they help me a little bit in sharing that the book is out or even purchasing it and reading it themselves. And so having that community is so helpful and something that I really wish I would have started doing sooner. The next lesson I learned is really speaking to the emotional aspects of my product in my marketing. And it took me time, and it will take you time too if you haven't figured this out yet. And there's always experimenting when it comes to marketing anyway. But in the beginning, it was a lot of like, buy my book, it's out now, buy my book, here it is. And no real strategy when it came to the actual messaging behind that. And so realizing and recognizing the importance of knowing your audience really well, knowing what they are looking for. What is the transformation that you're going to provide? Or what is the impact or the benefit to them going and purchasing your product? We're asking people to drop what they're doing and spend their money or give us, their email address for something in exchange for something. And so we really have to be compelling when we do that. And that's something that took me a little bit to learn, to focus less on me and focus more on my audience. The next thing is going to be the ups and downs, and learning that no matter how big your audience is, no matter how many sales you've made, no matter what, there's always going to be ups and downs, and that we all will experience them. I think that's something that I learned, a few years into selling a little bit better, and realizing that that's not guaranteed and that it could drop down, or I could have to change platforms or change strategies, and that that's a normal thing when it comes to marketing or comes to finding your audience and promoting a product. It always takes experimenting and being adaptable and being on your feet and ready to kind of try new things if what worked before stops working. But just know that if you are experiencing lower sales for a few months than normal, or your engagement dips, or people are unfollowing you, or whatever it may be, that we all experience ups and downs. It's never going to be just this linear path up. That's very rare. So I hope that helps you feel better if you are also experiencing those ups and downs too. If you are a creative or an author, let me know what's something that you've learned in however many years you have also been putting out books or marketing your products. I would love to hear from you in the lessons that you've learned as well, because I'm sure that there are many more things that I have to learn too. If you enjoyed this video, I would love for you to hit subscribe. I post new videos every single week. I'll also link my freebie where you can get on my weekly Marketing Monday email list too. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.